Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. Today we're going to be covering an artist who, I admire a lot. Great artist, and one who's just sort of been with us since the '60s, and was really one of the most sort of adaptable artists through all these different eras. I mean, sort of a psychedelic era in the '60s, just great rock hits in the '70s, pop hits in the '80s, and then more recently is doing like some jazz standards and blues covers, and he does those well. He's a jack of all trades. Steve Miller. Well, talking about Steve Miller Band, right? But Steve Miller, and you know, I- it's so interesting because so many people, maybe familiar with those hits from the '70s, had no idea he kind of had this whole psychedelic phase in the '60s, and yeah, but he really kind of did it all. Does it? Like he's still around, although his pace has definitely slowed down. I mean, people who know a lot about Steve Miller know he's an excellent guitar player, Stevie Guitar Miller, right? Uh, you know, Learned to play from a young age. I believe his godfather was Les Paul, right? Because Steve Miller's father knew Les Paul, and sort of circulated in you know, some of those crowds. And yeah, so Steve Miller is really from the start. He can be a little feisty too. It's funny, of all the people, when Steve Miller Band, or no, actually it was just Steve Miller, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You wouldn't have thought he would be the one to cause a stink, but he gave a pretty fiery speech, sort of trashing the whole hall and how they conduct business. And we the Black Keys that were chosen to induct him, and he had never heard of the Black Keys, so he's sort of like, "Who the hell are these people?" Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, of all the people, Steve Miller seems like such an amiable guy, but you know, fight the power, right? Anyway, all that aside, Steve Miller is an excellent artist. Now, one thing really interesting about Steve Miller is, yeah, he's acknowledged as this guitar player. I want to talk about his voice, though. His singing, his vocals are so good. And people don't talk about his vocals all that much. I think what's so amazing about his vocals is they're so adaptable, and they sound really good in all these different, like, you listen to the psychedelic stuff and like, yeah, it really works there. But then you get to the, so the more straight ahead rock hits in the '80s, yeah, really works there. Then you get to kind of some synthesizer stuff, the pop hits in the '80s. Yeah, it really works there. Then he can do these great blues covers and jazz standards, and his voice is so versatile, yet sounds really good in all of these genres. That's really impressive. I think that's really impressive. Anyway, this video, I'm going to do a top 10. Like, in my view, my top 10 Steve Miller albums. Now, he has 18 albums total, but I gotta be honest with you, with some of the albums that would be at the bottom of that ranking, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. So I just want to kind of focus on the top 10, my top 10, and at the end, we can talk a little bit some live stuff and compilations. I mean, there's obviously one major compilation to mention, but anyway, let's get into it. My top 10 Steve Miller Band albums. Well, at number 10, I've got 1973's The Joker. Now, of course, you have the iconic title track. But yeah, beyond that, although some kind of, I don't know, not real fond of some of the album art's kind of disturbing there. But anyway, yeah, The Joker, iconic title track. But there's some fun stuff on there too. Kind of nonsensical, but works. Like um, Shubada Shubada do Mama Mama. I can't say it. You know what I'm talking about. Your cash ain't nothing but trash. And actually, and all, on the second side, kind of gets into some kind of cool blues. Like when he gets into "Come On in My Kitchen" and "Evil." Some good stuff there. Anyway, not amazing all the way through, but I think the good stuff puts it on this list for me. Coming in at number 9, I'm going forward quite a bit here. 1986, "Living in the 20th Century." Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Steve Miller's kind of '80s pop stuff. When he's going for that kind of pop commercial jugular, I think he does it well. And I like '80s pop stuff. So this is kind of a weird album because it's sort of divided. Like the first side is sort of original songs that fit right into sort of '80s pop radio. Like the hit off of here was I Want to Make the World Turn Around, which I think is awesome. That's such a great kind of '80s song, man. God, that's good. And was it Maelstrom? I think that's an instrumental if I remember right. I gotta re-listen to it, but I remember that being kind of cool. But then on side two, it's really weird. He's like shifts gears to like a bunch of blues covers. It's kind of, but still sort of in with some '80s, production and stuff on them. I don't know. It's kind of jarring. I actually really like the side one stuff though. When he's just getting '80s pop stuff on the radio. It's good stuff. All right, number 8 in the number 8 slot, going back to 1972. I have Recall the Beginning, Journey from Eden. Kind of it all folds out here. Uh, uh, Not real great graphics there, but yeah, this is kind of interesting. It's sort of forgotten. I think side one's sort of interesting. But to me, why this is on the list is side two. It sort of works as this really kind of experimental, sort of touching back on some of the psychedelic sounds a little bit. It all kind of works as one piece on side two. To me, that's what really kind of grabs me. Yeah. All right. Number 7. Number 7 is like to me his most like straight ahead just pop record. I think it's catchy as hell. Even the kind of nonsensical, you know, silly title track, Abracadabra. I'm gonna reach out and grab you. Yeah, Abracadabra. I've actually been listening to this a lot lately, kind of getting ready for this video. Love, look at it, those '80s. Look at that, kind of awesome. Steve with his little collar turned up. It's pretty awesome. um, Man, this keeps me wondering why something special. Things I told you, in addition to Abracadabra. I mean, I think all those could have been radio hits. They had pushed them as singles. Just catchy as all get out, man. I mean, this really. I mean, yeah, there's definitely '80s stuff. Yeah, '80s sheen on there. It's was 1982 when this came out, but I think it's a fantastic record. I really do. All right, number 6, going all the way back. The debut, 1968's "Children of the Future." That's a great picture. Yeah, "Children of the Future." This is like really good psychedelic music. I mean, yeah, just real nice stuff. "Baby's Calling Me Home" is real kind of. That's actually mostly Boz Scaggs on. Boz Scaggs was in Steve Miller's band first couple records, and he actually contributes quite a bit. I think "Baby's Calling Me Home" is mostly Boz Scaggs. "Stepping Stone's" awesome. Yeah, it's just definitely sort of its time, but just really good psychedelic music. And like I said, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't realize that Steve Miller had this whole phase, you know, before those '70s hits, where experimental psychedelic stuff is good. Number 5 is kind of my hot take. I really dig number 5, or what I have in the 5 slot, and it doesn't have a great reputation. I mean, you look at the All Music review, what they give it, like 1 star, 2 stars, or something. I haven't seen a lot of real positive reviews of this. I don't know why. I think it's really good. It's kind of forgotten, but it's 1981's Circle of Love. Yeah, I really like this. I mean, maybe it's sort of, by 81 this is sort of anachronistic, but or maybe it's the fact that there's only one song on side 2, Macho City. You want a whole side of Macho City? I do. I want a whole side of Macho City. I kind of dig it. Yeah, jam out a little bit, stretch out. Some cool bass in there. I'll tell you what, though, the title track, "Circle of Love," that is such a gem. The, I mean, it starts off kind of nice, but then that sort of extended guitar part, that is just some. I mean, it's not like super complex, but it's just tasty guitar playing. I don't know, it's like what, 3-4 minutes, however long that goes. Love that. Love it. It's great. Macho City. All right. Top four. These top four is kind of funny because it's sort of like the iconic 270s albums and the iconic, or I don't know, iconic is the right word, but his two best 60s albums. you know, and so so where do they fall? I think like so two of these are like the best example of his 70s work, and then two of these is the best example of the 60s work. So at number four, I've got 1977's Book of Dreams, which was recorded actually at the same time, was we haven't talked about it yet, but as Fly Like an Eagle, right? It's pretty remarkable that all these songs that are on Fly Like an Eagle and Book of Dreams, and just both of them just packed with hits, were all recorded at the same time, and he just kind of divvied them up between the two records, and, and released them a year or two apart. Was it a year or two? Yeah, a year apart. But they're all recorded in basically the same set. You want to talk about a productive recording session, man. But anyway, Book of Dreams. Yeah, I even I like the kind of the little synthesizer spacey little intros like Threshold and Electrolux Imbrolia. But yeah, I mean, Jet Airliner, Wintertime, Swingtown, True Fine Love, Jungle Love. I mean, just awesome, you know, radio hits from the 70s, man. I mean, God, someone could just make a career out of this record, you know. All right, in my number 3 slot, going back to the 60s now, his second record, 1968's Sailor. This is great psychedelia. I mean, yeah, love that back photo there, or sort of photo drawing, whatever. I mean, I love the opener, that real moody, like minutes of just kind of this mood setting of Song for Our Ancestors. I think it's just brilliant. It's so great. Living in the USA is on here, just catchy as hell. Kind of shows you he can kind of go back and forth and you know write catchy tunes too. Quicksilver Girl, beautiful. Yeah, I remember Quicksilver Girl kind of got the resurgence when in the '80s, was on the Big Chill soundtrack. You remember that? Gangster of Love is on here. Um, yeah, this is great. I mean, not just Steve Miller great, but just great. Period. 1960s psychedelic music. It's just awesome. All right, man. Well, here we go. My 1 and 2 slot. I've got, I think, his greatest '60s record and his greatest '70s record. You know, kind of a toss up, I guess. But in my number 2 slot, I do have Fly Like an Eagle from '76. Fly Like an Eagle. Now, I already kind of talked about this session when I talked about Book of Dreams. But man, on here, I mean, the title track, Fly Like an Eagle, Wild Mountain Honey, Serenade, Dance, Dance, Dance. I like Mercury Blues a lot. That's cool. But that 1-2 punch opening up side 2, Take the Money and Run, and Rockin' Me. I mean, God, Take the Money and Run might be my favorite Steve Miller song. Maybe. God, I love that song. What else? Yeah, well, that's enough. I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, just packed with hits. radio staples that still they come on the radio today, and you still want to turn it up. It's just what's cool about this and Book of Dreams is that the real clean guitar sound he has on there. There's not a lot of distortion. It's just real clean Strat sound. God, it's great. But for me, my number one Steve Miller album is from 1969, Brave New World. I think this, well, obviously his best album from that 60s era. Uh, I mean, definitely still some psychedelic stuff on here, but there's also kind of some more straightforward songs that are just awesome. Seasons, Space Cowboy, um, yeah, Cow is great. In My Dark Hour. This is a guitar riff on In My Dark Hour, and it sounds real familiar. Something we just talked about, right? But it's okay to recycle yourself, I guess. Kind of fun fact, Paul McCartney appears on In My Dark Hour. I forget what he plays. He don't play bass. I forget what he. It's something. It's like maybe some sort of percussion instrument. I just know Paul McCartney is on In My Dark Hour. Yeah, I just think this is just, I mean, awesome. One of the great records in 1969, which is chock full of great records. So there you go. I mean, like I said, yeah, you saw my top 10. I've got 60s records, I got 70s records, I got 80s records. I'm a real big fan, real admirer of Steve Miller, kind of all the way through. Just a real quick now. I don't know. Does he? I don't think he has all that. I know there's a live Joker album. I don't have that. I do have this. This was sort of a toss off. Steve Miller Band live, was it like '83 or so? It's all right, but it's just, I don't know if it's like super inspired, but it's all right. But let's talk compilations. I mean, you can't talk about Steve Miller without at least mentioning this. Everybody had this. Everybody had this. This I think is one of the best selling compilations ever. And you know what's remarkable? It's like it's only it's only songs from two albums, except for the Joker's on there. But other than the Joker, every other song on here is either from Fly Like an Eagle or Book of Dreams. It's his greatest hits, 1974 to 78, like a 4 year period. But it's like, oh man, I mean, yeah, is what it is. Now, a couple of comps that you might be interested, maybe no less than that, but maybe you're looking for a more comprehensive, either a more comprehensive view or um, kind of delving into '60s stuff. Now, I thought I had this on. I don't know. They're called Young Hearts, I think. Um, it's kind of a more comprehensive Steve Miller. But it's still mostly kind of '70s and on, but it's really good. Young Hearts, I think, is the name of the comp. Editor can put it up there. There's also this. It's a nice double album, Steve Miller Band Anthology, and it let's see. So I need to double check here. Yeah, it's all pre-Joker, so it's basically his '60s stuff. All the stuff leading, before his big '70s hits. It's a nice comp. It's got a little booklet in there. Oh, there's not a whole lot in the booklet. Yeah. Anyway, that's good. Although honestly, I think a little bit tighter and a little bit better is this. It's a Steve Miller Band, the best of 1968 to '73. Now this does include the Joker, but it's still mostly that '60s stuff. This is really good. Listen, if you're looking for just kind of a one stop to like dip your toe into that '60s Steve Miller, if you're not familiar with it, it's great stuff. Well, anyway, I want to do a video on Steve Miller. What do you guys think? In the comments, let's talk Steve Miller. What are your favorites? Did I leave anything out? What's your favorite era? I mean, let's just talk Steve Miller Band, because we don't talk about him that much anymore. But man, that guy had a great run through multiple eras. And again, don't underestimate his vocals. Great voice. Obviously a great guitar player too. Please do subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Thank you to those who have already. If you haven't, we'd really appreciate it. It helps us do what we want to do. Like the videos, hit the bell for notifications, all that great stuff. And we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.